hear me? Is that working? Good evening, everyone. You know, actually, we sat and talked about this. Something occurred to me. My wife says my mom taught her many years ago. We talk about being Catholic. My mom used to have a saying, you know, don't tell anyone you're Catholic, just show them you're Catholic. And they'll know you're Catholic by your actions. So that's something that's always stuck with me. So very, very important. So thank you for having me out today. This is truly a blessing and an honor to be in front of you guys. Those at Ernst Young that work with me know I have a huge passion for young people and young professionals. And I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, and then you'll maybe understand why I have that passion. So I grew up just west of here in Hondo, Texas. Raise your hand if you know where Hondo is. All right, very, very good. It's where the radar station is, right? It's where they had that funny sign about driving. So long story short is I grew up in a Catholic family. My dad's Catholic, my mom's Catholic, my grandparents were Catholic, all of us were Catholic. Like a lot of Catholic families of that generation, there were 7 of us. I was the middle of 7 children. My dad was a union iron worker, a blue-collar worker. My mom, you know, had held various jobs. She was a stay-at-home mom for a period of time. But it was hard to make ends meet, so she started working. And so, well, you know, I grew up and to say a poorer household would be probably an understatement. The one thing we were very rich in, though, was love, faith, hard work, and things that really mattered. To me, my fondest memories are not revolving around some extravagant event that occurred. We did. It was really revolving around spending time together and loving each other and doing that. So, went to school at UT Austin, paid for my way for school. I bet you a lot of you guys went to college, probably did a lot of the same things and had to pay for yourself to get through school, did that. Came back to San Antonio, went to work for the time for Ernst Young in 1988. I'm not going to ask who was even born in 1980. My grandparents were today. And I actually was kind of a little bit lost. I needed a job. I was poor, so I needed a job. So I took it, and I joked, and to this day I joke, I have this job until I grow up and decide what I'm going to go do. And so here's now 31 years later almost, and I'm still trying to decide what I want to go do. Through that process at UT Austin, as I was graduating, my wife, Rummel, and I met. I won't describe, all I heard describe, but she speaks how we met, because it might be more embarrassing to me than me. So, but anyway, she went to law school at Baylor after that. We dated through law school, and a lot of trips up and down I-35. Those that are married or have significant others elsewhere, you can probably appreciate those trips, things like that. Got married, as she told me, she was an Air Force brat. You know, I'll live in San Antonio for a little bit of time, but I'm not going to spend my whole life in San Antonio. Okay, I work for a company I can move. I would say pretty much after 6 or 8 months, she was like, I'm not leaving here. I love San Antonio. We'll come to San Antonio. We now have 4 beautiful children. We have a huge blessing on Saturday coming up. My oldest son is 25, is getting married downtown at San Fernando Cathedral. So Father Larry will do the service. So we're really excited about that. We'll have a new daughter into our family. I have a son who just graduated from UT Austin. I have a daughter that's a junior at UT Austin. Will be a senior this upcoming year. And then our youngest is going to be a junior in high school next year. She's a big basketball player, so a lot of you go basketball tournaments for her. Anyway, a little bit of background on me. One of the things, you know, I was asked you to talk about working and being a witness for Christ, and what does that really mean? And so I want to try to bring it back to things I've learned in my career about myself, observing others. Life teaches a lot of things through observation and through reading and observing people. And so, you know, through my life, I think a lot of things that form how I behave is just listening to scriptures. I love scriptures about Jesus, particularly when he's dealing with the Pharisees. I love those stories. One of the things I've learned through that process is that people really struggle because a lot of your generation grew up being told, you shall do this, you're going to play youth sports, you're going to do this. And you had this structure that existed in your whole life. All the way through college, you're going to go to college, you're going to go get this job, you're going to go do this. And as a result of that, your life is really structured. And then you get out of college, and you get your first job, and that structure falls away. It doesn't exist anymore. And all of a sudden, you're kind of left deciding what you want to go do. And I've heard it time and time again with people saying why. They're just, I'm unhappy. Well, what does you want to go do? And for the first time ever, they actually contemplate that. What is that I want to do? And that they just sometimes struggle. So my first message to you is really, you need to define what success is. What does that mean to you? And how are you going to be successful in life? No one else can do that. You've earned that right and that privilege to do. Define what that is. It doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be a huge family. It doesn't have to be travel the world. It doesn't have to be work a lot. It doesn't have to be work a little bit. It has to be what you were born to be. What is your faith driving you? What do you want to go do? What's important to you? And then set yourself down that path. I often analogize to things, and I say a lot of times young professionals, they're like a person
before you had your iPhones and give you maps of where to go. You're like a person who get in a car and start driving, and there's great music on, and you're enjoying your drive, but really not knowing where you're driving. And then one day you wake up and you're tired of driving, and you're so miserable because all you did is drive, but you never knew where you're going to go to. So I think it's incredibly important to have words of wisdom to you. Focus on what your goals are. Those goals can change. And I believe in 3 to 5 years out, what I want to do in 3 to 5 years out. And honestly, it's going to change day to day. My wife and I, when we found out we were having our first child, our lives changed totally. I mean, we were going down one path, and all of a sudden, one day we're blessed, and we're going down a different path. So just realize that'll change. To achieve, once you define that, to achieve that, you need a couple of things. You're going to have to work hard. Okay, you're going to have to work hard. Going back to scriptures, if you ever really pay attention to the gospel readings, and particularly things that involve Jesus, you'll notice something. He's never laying around. He's never being lazy. He's never, binge watching something on TV. Okay, he's always out meeting people and doing things and being active. All of the scriptures, everything you read is about that. And so, he was a carpenter. So he truly believed in hard work. And so that's something you should take, in your lives, that nothing should be easy. And hard work is going to get you where you want to be. I also believe you need knowledge and or an education. And there's a difference between knowledge and education. So I always tell people it's like experience versus knowledge. So I can read a book on how to tune up a carburetor, right, or how to fix a computer. But I'm probably not going to be very good at it, okay? If someone who does it constantly all the time, they're going to do much better. I can have the same knowledge, they just have better experience. So really focus on your education and what is going to drive the knowledge you need and the experience you need to drive your success. I think that's incredibly important. Again, I joked a little bit about the parables Jesus gives, about the Pharisees and how he educated through parables. And what that was, what was he doing? He's passing on knowledge. And so I do think it's incredibly important to have those. I think there's certain qualities in an individual that make you successful, no matter which. And I think this is incredibly important. Honesty, integrity, transparency, and respect for people. Doesn't matter who they are. Every person in the world deserves respect. Okay? And if you can't do that, then you have to look at them and wonder if they're ever going to respect you. I built my career on that. I was very pleased to hear you talked about how people describe you. I do believe I'm a person of integrity. I will always tell you what you want to hear. I won't. I'll tell you what you need to hear. You may not like it. You may not agree with it. And I could be wrong. And I will tell you, sometimes I'm not perfect. I'll be wrong. But I think it's important to treat people with integrity and honesty. And I think people respect that in you. I think when you really are transparent to them and honest how they're doing things and what they're doing in their career. So if you are working for someone in your career and they're giving you good feedback and they're giving you things you need to do to improve, you're going to find that that's a leader you really like, right? If you're working with someone who never gives you feedback on what's going on, what you're doing right, that's going to be hard to deal with. So when you think about your experiences that you have in your careers, early in your careers and through your life, whether it be a coach, a teacher, your parents, those are the people that gave you feedback and honest feedback on how to improve. Those are the people that really mean a lot. And again, I can go back, I'm going to bring back the scriptures. I don't think Jesus always said what people wanted to hear, okay? He was very curt with people when they needed to be told something that they didn't want to hear. So again, when you think about this, and I bring this back to, I go to Mass every Sunday. Some priests, honestly, I don't know if there's any priests here today. Some of the priests I really like their sermons, and some not so much, right? But I always get a lot out of the gospel. And I had a priest that I grew up with, and I'm going to ask this of all of you guys when you leave here today. So there was a priest I grew up with, Father Paul Clear. He's out in McCosta. If you ever have a chance to go see Father Paul, he's a fantastic priest, an Irish guy. But he used to end all his sermons, and he was a very passionate speaker. He ended all of his sermons with the following concept. So based on what you heard today in the gospel and the readings, what one thing are you going to do different this next week? Not the rest of your life, because you're probably not going to change the rest of your life. But how about you just take something you learned today and do something different for you? So that's one of the things I would want to point out for you guys to really think about and really do. Again, I've been very, very blessed. A lot of the things I've come out of, I talk to scripture and I talk to things I did, but I've been blessed with great mentors, really great mentors. Mentors can do two things for you. They can teach you how to do things, and sometimes they teach you how not to do things. In my job at Ernst Young, it's a hierarchical pyramid kind of scheme. You have partners and you have senior managers, and it kind of comes down to a pyramid. And so as you work up the pyramid, you have mentors across the firm that you see. And so I work with a lot of partners, And again, many who taught me how to do things, and many I observed how they conducted themselves. I'm like, I'll never conduct myself that kind of blow up. I knew it was going to blow up. But it's really important to find those mentors and really look for those mentors that can help you do things. And I've not yet met a good mentor who's not willing to mentor. I don't know what I said other than, why am I here? I'm here because I would love to mentor you guys. And how can I help you guys be more successful in life? So that's really, really important. One of the concepts I want to touch on a little bit, maybe more relevant for me in my profession at Ernst Young, but probably relevant to all of you guys. So I want to talk a little about work-life balance. How many of you guys have heard the term work-life balance? You know, I figure most of you guys have. Those who didn't raise their hand, they're just too shy to raise their hand. That is something I've struggled with my whole life. My wife would tell you I've probably struggled with my whole life. It's a concept that it's like trying to climb Mount Everest. Very few people ever really achieve it, but a lot of people try. So let me tell you a little bit what it means to me and how I've tried to balance it for your benefit. Some of you guys, I know there's some young married couples in here, I think, and maybe some of you guys are, you know, some player close to having kids. So never sacrifice your work for your family and your faith. But equally, you can't always you just can't ignore work either. You just can't do it. It's not achievable. I mean, I'll pick on Jesus. I shouldn't pick on him, maybe I will. I'm sure he would love to spend most of the time with his mother, right? I'm sure he would love to just spend time with his friends and not have done the things he did. But he chose not to do that because he had obligations and jobs that God asked him to do. And so, in some ways, we're not that different. And that there's going to be obligations we have. And that's okay. That's okay. You have to fulfill those obligations. But what you cannot do is sacrifice one for the other. Over time, what you'll find, in my 31 years of my career, is there's times where my faith and my family have taken great priority over my work life, okay? And those are the important events. I have a review, a government review I'm about to go through. My son's wedding is Saturday. You know, Friday, leave me alone. Saturday, leave me alone. Sunday, leave me alone. This is important. I want to take care of that. But on the other side of it, there's times where you're going to have to, my wife would tell you, I work long hours. I don't miss important events, but there's events I miss. Kids' basketball game when I kind of wanted to go, but it was important to them in my family. I made sure I would do that. So when you think about work-life balance, my asking you to think about it this way. It is something that is achieved over a long period of time. If you think you're going to achieve it daily, weekly, monthly, annually, it's hard to do. It's really hard to do. But you should take stock of that on and think about that on and really challenge yourself how you're doing that. But at the end of the day, it's achieved over a long period. And that's important. That's hard sometimes to hear. And again, I try to bring it back to sometimes when I think about, am I working way too much? Am I sacrificing way too much? I do think about, the role models I had. The people, my dad, as I mentioned, was a union iron worker. He got paid when he went to work. When he didn't go to work, he didn't get paid. Okay? So if he could work overtime, he worked overtime. He would be, I can still remember my dad, he would be, running a high fever, but he had to get up and go to work, and went to work because he didn't know he get paid. And so, is that, did he miss some of my games? Yeah, was that hard to do, but also, what he was doing. And so, it was important. And again, so those are things just to really think about as you're working on your careers. Again, how do I balance it? But I can't, it's not like, I have 24 hours in a day, and I've got 12 hours of work and 12 hours, it just doesn't work. So work at it, work really hard. Just a couple of things just to kind of touch it before I open it up to questions. Again, just a reminder, no one can define success for you other than yourself. Your parents have given you guidance, your coworkers give you guidance, your family gives you guidance, your teachers, your coaches, everyone in their lives are going to give you guidance to what success is, okay? Which you should do. You should do that. You should be a nurse. You should be a doctor. That's not what's important. Listening to them is important. But what is truly important is defining what is important and driving towards that and setting the goals that you do. I talk a little bit about driving, so I used to tell younger people all the time, long ago, before you had iPhones and maps on it, if you were going to drive to Omaha, Nebraska tomorrow, you would pull out a road map, you map it back from Omaha back to San Antonio, Texas, you start looking at this road map and you'd say, wow, that's a long drive. That might take me 2 days. So I got a plan for 2 days. I may need a hotel. You know what? I've got a pet. Maybe I need to take care of my pet. I need to get some money. I need to get gas. How long am I going to be gone? Do I need to pay any bills? So you all of a sudden start thinking about all the things you need to do,
right? That's how your career should be, and that's how your life should be. That 3 to 5 year goal, 3 to 5 year goal is I'm going to drive to Nebraska, okay? And maybe I'll be 6 months into it and I realize I don't really want to go to Nebraska. I want to go to Denver more fun. And it changes, it will change. But be comfortable changing that, but set those goals, set the tasks you're going to get to those goals, and work towards those. And stay close to the people that are important, because they'll help drive it. And really that's, I'm going to conclude with that. I don't know if I spoke too long or too little, sometimes I ramble a bit. But I think it's probably more important to hear from you guys. What do you guys want to hear? And I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm going to be calling people if I don't get questions, so you want me to call them. So if you have a question, please stand up, raise your hand. I'll answer what I can. And if you want to even ask my wife a question, you can ask her a question. So if she says I'm a pain, that's truthful. So all right, come on. You guys got to have a few questions. Let me go to the back. Okay, go ahead. Stand up. Young lady standing up. Speak loud.
Yeah. What is your favorite memory at Ernst Young? In my profession, we make a lot of family connections.
Okay.
What is your favorite memory?
I have two. I have a lot of things, but I'm going to give two, and you're going to say these are really crazy because they're so different. One is when I made partner in the firm. That was a great moment because that was something, a goal I worked on for a long time to achieve, and that was a really important goal. To achieve that, that's something I can't do. A second one I have is I joke a lot with our other people that the hardest things you go through in our career, and you go through these impossible tasks, and then everyone comes together and gets something done. You look up and you're like, wow, I can't believe it. I thought it could be done. So a favorite memory I have is about 3 or 4 years ago, this is a job that Belly and I worked on together. I got told in December that this client wanted to execute several transactions. And as a result of that, our work was going to basically double in 2 months. Okay? And our busiest time, we're already scheduled to work 60, 70 hours a week. And we really need to get this done. And how are you going to get it done? And walking into the room, and this is the client tells me, I walk into the room, I lay this out for my team. And they're a very optimistic team, and you would have thought I just told them everyone died. Okay? Their faces drooped, they're like, how can we get this done? But as we talked through it and started laying it out a strategy of how we're going to get this done, and how we're going to get this done, how we're going to do this, we walked out of that room about 3 hours later, and they were the most fired up, rah. And not only did we get it done, we got it done early. And it was just changed the relationship with the client. So just memories of that, and I could of just rallying together to really solve something that was very difficult, creates very far from this is impossible to do to wow, we got it done and we did it. So that'd be the two I can point out.
When it comes to your faith, what are 1 or 2 experiences that you've had there, Ernst Young, where they were challenging, but your faith played a big role in the decisions you ultimately made?
I'm going to give one. I think I'm going to give the same job by Nick. Absolutely. Yeah. So here's one. So I'm in the client service business. And so when I was young in my career, my second son had just been born. He was maybe 2 weeks old, maybe 2 weeks old. And my wife, being a young mom, tells me something's not right with the kid. Just a nurse mom. So I go to work. She calls me a little while later and says, took him to the doctor. We're now going to the hospital, and something's not right, and they're going to send him there and run tests. And I was downtown. It was Santa Rosa Hospital, Children's Hospital there. And I said, well, I'll be there. Our office room. I'll be there in a couple minutes. So we meet. She's in tears. Our infant son's in NICU, trying to figure out what's going on with him. I'm frustrated because now I'm down filling out the paperwork. In the meantime, I had been working with one of our clients on a transaction. They were trying to buy a business. And the owner of this business, I won't give his name, no, I won't give his name because he deserves it. Bob Kavner, the Kavners, car dealership, had called the office looking for him. And my assistant goes, well, Bobby Jeff's not here. You know Bobby, you're a new car salesman guy. So Bobby goes, well, where is he? Well, how do you talk to him? And my assistant goes, Bobby, he's not available. No, really, where is he? She goes, okay, Bobby. He is at the emergency room with his son in Santa Rosa. He's two weeks old. They don't know what's wrong with him. And so Bobby goes, okay, thanks. He goes, that's fine. Well, unbeknownst to me, Bobby's also on the board center. So while I'm filling out all this paperwork, and I've left my wife in tears as I'm filling out all the paperwork, I
come back upstairs, and she's now on the phone. She left her in tears. She's on the phone, not laughing, but just calm, collected. And I'm thinking, what just happened? Who is she talking to? And she hangs up the phone, and she goes, I said, who was that? She goes, I was Bobby Cameron. And of course, I think, what is Bobby calling for? And Bobby called, not for me, called looking for her. He knew her. And said, talked to her and said, basically, I'm on the board. The head of the hospital will be here in a few minutes. If you need anything, let me know. So that, and everything turned out fine. He turned out, he had meningitis, turned out to be fine. But that is a very faithful moment to me. It really is, because there was an intersection of the things you do, and how you take care of people, and how hard I work with him, and building that trust and that relationship with him, to him flipping the switch of, I'm not a business guy. I'm a loving person who's looking out for this person. So that was one moment that really sticks out in my mind. There's probably plenty of them. I mean, there's been a lot of long nights. I'm really thinking about, how to interact with people. There's a lot of times, honestly, I've dealt with, I wouldn't say unscrupulous people, but people that are not good people. I don't know how to say it than that. And sitting down and realizing I have to bite my tongue and listen to them and take sometimes lashings I don't deserve. But think about it from a perspective, again, how would a Christian Catholic think about handling this situation? You go back to when I started with my mom. Don't show them, don't tell them you're Catholic, just show them. And so a lot of that's those situations.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that after Mass, you might have a plan of what to do the week after.
Yep.
That is something that's in your life, but this week, what do you do for next week? Is there maybe one particular, I guess, task or job that you kind of have in your head after one Mass that, I guess, intentionally would be for a week, but ended up lasting for a lot longer, or one that maybe stood out to the most?
Not one that's last long that sticks out. There's one that sticks out to me that's probably not the answer to your question. But when this priest first came to Honda, I was in Honda, he organized a set of masses that were early in the morning, like 6 in the morning. So if you're a high school student, you don't need to get up at 6 in the morning. And so my mom, he talked to us, we're going to do this. It's for 2 weeks. Really encourage people to go. And this is one of those actions you can take that's different. Okay. My mom really wanted to go, but she didn't want to go by herself. So I did that, and that's always stuck in my mind. It's something I did, and it's still one of the more meaningful things I did for my mom. She's passed away now, so there's a little heartstring to me here. Other ones I would think, again, it's just a lot of it's how you treat people and how you interact with people. It's not that I walked out and I said, this week I'm going to pray the rosary every day, right? Now I'm going to perpetuity. But to me, it was building on character things and how you interact with people, because that is incredibly important. So, I know you're a generation of social media and phones and texting and interaction, but trust me when I tell you, the most important skill you'll have is interacting with human beings, having the ability to connect with them and have a conversation. It's amazing to me how many people today struggle with this. I have people that work with me now that can attest to this. Did you talk to this client? No, I sent them an email. They just sit by it. Go talk to them. They're just nervous about it. One of the things we have to do in our job is go through what we call a lab, where you understand how something initiates in a business and a transaction all the way to reporting the financials. And I always joke with people, our young people do them and they hate to do them. Like, there's 3 things that happen. 2 good, 1 bad. Good number 1 is you learn how to do something you didn't know how to do. And that's really powerful. That increases your personal brand quite a bit. Okay? And that's what it's all about, learning. Number 2, you're going to meet people you didn't know. Okay? And those people, you think that some of them are junior levels in there, some are mid-management, sometimes you go to some higher level. But all those younger people, they grow up too, they become mentors. All of a sudden, 20 years later, and you run into them on the street and they're CFO of a client, you're, wow, you start talking. That's really, now, documenting all that, anyway, no one likes to hear that. But I think the biggest one I would jump out to your question would be that. That's one that really sticks out. Yes, ma'am.
You talked about how you had this idea of how your career path would go, and then you had your first child, and something completely different happened, and you were completely blessed by that. So I was wondering if you could tell us about that time in your life, because as a woman, they always tell us, well, you have to choose between your career and your family, and you can't have both.
So that's not true. That's not true.
Okay.
I'll come back. Can I tell the whole story or not? You can tell. I'll tell. You can tell when you talk about it. The short answer was. short answer was, we were not expecting to have a child. And we were going down a path where her career was going to take her down a different path. It would likely cause us to be more mobile in our careers, okay? And all of a sudden, we would find out she was going to have a child, and that opportunity for her to do what she was going to do went away. And so then we were locked and said, well, now we're going to stay in San Antonio, we're going to put more roots down in San Antonio and become more active. When she speaks to it, but I am a huge passionate guy about women in the workforce. So I want to speak to this a lot. So you guys, the rest of you guys bear with me. So one of the things I did in my career that I'm very proud of is, in my younger part when I was a senior manager, I've been with the firm a little bit less than 10 years, 10 to about 10 years to 15 years of my career. I spent a lot of time mentoring young moms because my wife worked. She was a prosecutor. We had kids, we had young kids. You know, we had an arrangement of how we were going to work through it. She was in court. So in the mornings, I would drop off the kids because I always knew when my day was going to start. Didn't know it was going to end. She usually knew when her day was going to end, but so I'd drop off the kids. She'd pick them up from daycare. Well, sometimes she'd be caught in court. And so I always had my cell phone on me, and sometimes my cell phone would ring. I'd be in a client meeting, whatever. It would be her just pick the kids. No texting back then. Pick the kids. So in my meeting, I said, I got to go. And the result of that was the older partners in the firm, they were all males. You know, they just, oh my God, you can't do that. But I didn't really care because it was important to me. And the other thing I found was that all of my clients respected me, and they all valued it. So I would tell you this perception that exists that you can't, and this goes for the males as well. You know, you're a parent too. So harder on females, but it goes above the males. This reality that exists, there's perception that exists, that it's not doable, is hard. Is it hard? Absolutely. Does it take a lot of cooperation, coordination? Absolutely. But I will tell you, it can be done. We're living proofs it can be done. And you can say, well, you're in certain careers, maybe I'm in a different career. But if you're in a different career, they're not understanding you and break them all. Because it can work. It's not easy. You know, there's going to be times you're going to have to stay home. There's going to be times the kids are sick. And sometimes you have to give back. You know, you're like, you know, well, I can't be here now, but I'll take care of something a little bit later. And you work differently. And so, very, very passionate about it. And I'll let her talk about it a little more when she speaks. But this is something, if you want to talk a little bit later, I'm pretty passionate. It's doable. It's just not hard. And people who, in our business at Ernst Young, Melanie certainly say this, where it doesn't work for us, is in really two aspects. The person who's trying to do it decides for whatever reason, I can't make it work, right? And everyone's there supportive of them. And sometimes it's that perception, I can't make it work, and they just give up when it's the right word, but they just don't do it. The second one is, and honestly, not to sound chauvinistic, the second one is for the most part, older women that have put their career to be very important to them, sometimes are less understanding than even men. Because they look up and say, well, I sacrificed, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, why are you doing this? And the answer is, because it's important, and it's what's important to you. Probably didn't answer your question, but pretty passionate about it. Melanie?
So I know EY speaks a lot about ethics, like that's a huge part of our job every day. Do you feel like in your career, your faith has driven for you, if you come across an ethical dilemma at work, if you do you feel like your faith will help you make what you feel was the right decision at that time?
Yeah. So yes. I mean, with most decisions, you know, there's right and wrong, or there's right? And there's easy and there's hard. Okay? So, and sometimes the right decision is the easy decision. Sometimes the right decision is the hard decision. Sometimes a great decision is hard to do. And so when I make decisions, you know, it's not, I don't make decisions based, my faith is taught me not to take the easy path. It's not. It's going to take, what is the right thing to do? What is the right thing to do? And sometimes that has consequences. I'll give you an example. I had an inspection I was going through several years ago with the government, and we didn't do very good work. And so we have people that are coaching us to help get through this inspection, and they're trying to coach me to basically make arguments I just don't agree with, to try to get out of this inspection line. And I finally looked at this person and I go, I don't care. I said, if people expect me to let this go, I'm going to go fix it and report it myself, because that's the right thing to do. And, you know, is that, you know, can I tie it to a scripture? No. I just think that's the Catholic thing. You do the right thing. You do the right thing, and the consequences, you know, may be harsh. You know, hopefully it's not crucifixion as Jesus went through, but it's going to be, it's not always going to be easy. And so I also say this, and you probably heard me say this, so in my career, it probably was the right decision, it just didn't work out the way I wanted it to, it doesn't make it wrong. But really having that faith of saying, the integrity to say, I'm gonna do the right thing. If those has consequences, if I did the right thing and Ernst Young said, Jeff, you did that, you're out of the firm, I'd say good riddance, because I don't want to be, because I want to be entitled to people who do the right thing. So I think that's faithful, Melanie, but that's how I think.
As part of that, do you have advice for, in a firm like EY, we're working with a lot of different, very diverse people, some people who don't have faith. That for me that drives all the decisions that I make, and people that I want to build relationships with and have you. Do you have advice for working with people? Do you feel like there's a difference between working with people who are like-minded from that perspective, or don't have their faith that drives in the workplace? I guess, do you have advice for how to navigate that?
So I'm going to answer this, but it's probably not an answer. I'm going to try, so bear with me. So I don't really get into a lot of how do people, are you Catholic, are you Jewish, are you Muslim, are you atheist, are you Baptist, are you Hindu, are you, that's not important. It's really not. It's not. How you behave, how you act is important. And so I tend to coalesce around people of integrity, and people I like, and people I think they're going to try to do the right things without regard to their faith, or their upbringing or whatever. And I will say, this is probably a terrible thing to say, but when I'm around those people that are not fitting that mode, I tend to do my best to either convince them fairly quickly or distance myself. And maybe not the right thing to do, but at the end of the day, no one likes to hang around people that have low integrity or don't care for people or only look out for themselves. Those aren't successful people anyway. They just kind of bring you down. And so I really think about it that way. And again, I started this with my mom said, and I think maybe that informed when I started this. I didn't even think about it until my wife walked in because she reminds me of that all the time. I think that informed me. That's why you ask me who's Catholic, we talk about it on the plane. I know these people are Catholic, not because I want to ask her to be Catholic. It's because from time to time you might get in a conversation about faith and we're Catholics. Or I've been to masses, and my wife, when you have kids, sometimes you find out that you go to a lot of different parishes. And so I've been part of probably 6 or 7 parishes here in San Antonio, and then I've probably been to, 20 other parishes from time to time. And you just be sometimes surprised when I'm running into someone, I didn't know you were a Catholic. And it just sticks in my mind that that's a lot. Yes, sir.
Do you ever find yourself spiritually stagnant? And if you have, how did you overcome it?
That's a great question. Yes, I have. When I find, so I'm going to give an example, and then I'm going to bring it further. So my wife and I have a great relationship, and we're spending time together. But when I started getting on the road, and we're going 100 miles an hour, and we don't spend as much time together, there's more tension in our marriage. Okay? I'll call that stagnant. Okay? When I find myself working a lot and doing a lot of things, and I realize I've not been to Mass as much as I should have been, or I'm not paying as much attention to things that are really important to me, I've become overwhelmed in other things, that's when I realize, wait a minute, I'm not where I need to be. And honestly, though she's sitting here, I'd say if she wasn't, she does a really good job of reminding me of that from time to time. So having something to push you there, but when you find yourself stagnant, you find yourself, you just don't feel right. You just don't feel good. Something's not right, something's not clicking. No matter what I do, I'm not happy. That's a great time of reflection. And I do find myself, that's when I do like to go to Mass. Sometimes I'll just go in the middle of the week because I just want to get that reconnection. And then you start doing that and getting back in that cycle, and it seems to make me feel better, for me personally. So that's how I try to do it. It absolutely happens. And it's going to happen to all you guys. And I wish I could say it would never happen. I wish I could say it's never going to happen to me again. But I'm a human being, and it's going to happen to me again. It's a little bit of the analogy I gave of driving. I find myself, I'm driving, where am I going? Or what am I trying to do? What are my goals? What am I trying to accomplish? And in your goals ought to be something based on your faith, right? It should be, if your goal is in 4 or 5 years, I want to be a millionaire, multi-millionaire, and live on an island and never do anything. First of all, it's not a very realistic goal, but is that really what God wants you to do? Is that really what He wants you to do? And no one can answer that for you. That's just something.
Go ahead, come up here, Louis. Come up here, come up here.
My better half will realize.
What can I answer for you?
Jeff has spoken a little bit about his journey and everything he's done. Is there anything you as his life that you can point out or he stands out to in his faith and his life?
He's an excellent role model. He is an excellent role model for my kids, for myself, and for the people that he mentors. He tries really hard to impart his wisdom in any way he can. In raising our kids, he tries to set them down the right path. If they are doing something wrong, he straightens them away very quickly. With me, I'll talk later, but my career's been all over the place, and I deal primarily with criminal law. He keeps me focused on what's important, and I've watched him do that in his career. He's been incredibly successful in his career, there's no doubt about that, but I think the best thing that I've ever heard out of his mouth is, I'm going to retire when this person makes partner, when I lift this female up, when I get this gentleman this job there. He's done that his entire career. And the amount of giving back that he does to other people, it's pretty amazing. So I don't know if that answered your question, but there you go.
Well, you get to come home tonight. And I'm envious of you guys. I really am. I mean, you have your lives ahead of you. You know, not that I've got a few more years ahead of me as well. But the world is changing, and it's changing more rapidly than it's ever changed. It just is. It's faster, more and more. You know, change is a constant, but the speed of change is not today. It's faster than ever did. And I will leave you with this one thought. That is why, despite everything that's going on, hanging to your Catholic faith, hanging to what's important to the churches, and not losing that focus will keep you down the right path. It will keep you, and that's what's getting down to that. Is that? And again, going back to what I said to my mom, don't talk a lot of people. I'm Catholic, but I hope everyone looks up and says, again, when people describe me, if they don't know the things they would describe, I think would be a very good Catholic man. And that's why I hope it. So thank you so much.